Let's talk about the main event there in California on DAZN. We had the ladies, Gabriela Fundora versus Marilyn Badillo. Fundora, undisputed flyweight champion. This was her first defense of her undisputed belts. And just like her brother, genetics are unbelievable, right? I mean, tall, long, super wiry, rangy, trained by the father, and quite the performance. Had her way, very one-sided.
You don't have to spend the good thing about being a father in that family, you don't have to spend a lot of money on groceries. Your food bill ain't real big. There's some families where the father's like, oh my God, I got to get a second job to feed these guys. Oh my God. Richie's laughing. His family's probably like that. Oh, how am I? But this family, no, you're going to save some money on the food bill. Man, they are skinny.
Yeah, no question. And, I thought about you during this fight immediately. One of your great analogies of the kid trying to go up the hill being Badillo and the other kid on top of the hill chucking rocks at you being Fundora. She got to give her credit, Badillo. She tried. She was trying to get super low and shoot a big shot and left hook up top. But whatever she tried, she was outgunned. And Fundora was using her range, shooting down shots. And she's, like her brother, not afraid to give up her height and come forward and be fan-friendly. What'd you think of Fundora and her performance?
Unlike her brother, very similar. But where she's better than her brother, although her brother in the last fight, not with a top, he didn't have anything great in front of him, to be honest. Game guy, but nothing what he's gonna have. He's gonna have tougher fights coming up. But in his last fight, he did do what I'm about to say. He did look better. But where she's better than him consistently is when she wants to fight tall on the outside, she does. And she can do it consistently. And then when she wants to press, which I think is almost part of the genetics of this family. I think it's part of the mental genetics. I think the father trains them to be this, to be these kind of fighters with this attitude to press, to get knockouts. They talked about that. I think he kind of like develops Terminators. To have this Terminator attitude. She's a Terminator. She's a sweet thing. She talks well. She really is. She looks like a really as nice a person as you could find. Sincerely. I mean, like she really is. It's not fake. But, man, she's a Terminator. She is a guys, don't you go out on a date with her, be really a gentleman. I mean, you should always be a gentleman. Should always be. But really be extra because she don't play. The
nickname is perfect. Sweet Poison.
It is perfect. She is the consummate, not just fighter, but really Terminator, the warrior. Like she's got that attitude, and she said something that Customato used to say to me when I was had the responsibility of develop a guy named Mike Tyson. I remember Cus would say, how'd the training go? How'd the workout? How'd the day go in the gym? Whatever, with all the fighters. But then, of course, he would concentrate on him, being that he was going to be a heavyweight, the whole thing, could punch with either hand. That would kind of make you a little bit the favorite. You know what I mean? That would make you the favorite in the family. And it could hit you on top of the head, fracture your ankles. Yeah, that would make you the favorite in a family, in a boxing family. But Cus would say to me, and then when I would take him out to get fights, he would say his attitude needs to be always like, first let me explain this. I'll be the first to say I don't make a fighter look for a knockout because I might prepare him where he could get a knockout and we'd like to get it, and I think it's a good chance we can get it by doing certain things that I will set up as the fight plan to do in the gym. But I never put the pressure on him and I never say, we got to get knocked, because I don't know who I'm talking to. I know my fighter, but if he's not mature enough, if he's not disciplined enough, smart enough to understand that I don't mean to go out there and start looking for one punch at a time. I mean to continue doing the things you were trained to do. Do the things you were taught to do to get the knockout, but don't overly press for the knockout, because then you could get caught. You could get knocked out. because then it's like a baseball player up at the bat. You look for the home run, you strike out. But you look to make contact, you look to swing the bat the way you were taught to swing it, keep your eye on the ball and all the mechanics you were taught, you might get a home run. You got a good chance of getting a home run if you're that kind of hitter. Same thing with a fighter. I don't want to press him and say, okay, you got to go get a knockout. And then, again, the chance that maybe he gets over anxious, maybe he loads up a little bit. I will say, do the things we taught you to do. Do the things we trained to do. Do them consistently. A mix of offense and defense. Press behind the jab. Bring your feet. Give a feint once in a while. Don't walk into anything. But if you do those things and you see you get to continue to press, and you'll wind up getting to where you want to get to without me having to use the word knockout. Cus was more definitive. Cus was more aggressive with that with me. Cus would say, and Fundora reminded me of that, and she basically said it. Cus would say, let him go after him full force one round. Go after him, do everything to try to get him out of there. Everything. The right way. That's my job. He would say to me, that's your job, to make sure he does it the right way. But his attitude should be, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. And then the bell rings. Okay, same attitude the next round. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him this round. Bell rings, you don't get him. Same attitude the next round. Same attitude the next. In other words, every round. If I don't get him this round, I'll get him the next round. If I don't get him that, I'll get him the next round. That is her attitude. And she said as much. She said, my father trains us. We train to get the knockout. If actually she used the same verbiage that Cus had used. If I don't get him that round, I'll get him the next round. The thing that she does, and she did really well, and like I said, her brother did it the last fight, but he doesn't always. When she decides to press, when she decides after a round or two, when she decides to come forward and reads the tea leaves, she reads the landscape, she reads the roadmap. Okay, time to go. It's time now to start pressing more. She still keeps. See, you said one thing I disagree with. You said she does give up her height like her brother. To me, no. Because even when and I get why you say it, bud, you're not wrong. But when she presses the right way for a tall person. She presses behind the jab with enough range, enough separation where the her opponent never gets that close to her, where she keeps the opponent at the end of her punches, where she gets full extension on her punches. In other words, she decides, okay, I'm gonna come forward. I'm gonna go into that geography now, the close geography, where it looks like I'm gonna give up my height. So she does. But in reality, she's doing it in a way technically behind the jab where she's always keeping the opponent at a range where she can hit the opponent with her long arms and the opponent can't hit her. So even when she comes forward aggressively, she still keeps the advantage of being tall. Her brother did that in his last fight, but he doesn't do it because she is magnificent at it. I love this fighter. I love her. I love the way she approaches the game, the way she attacks the game, the way she handles herself outside and inside, the way she's an ambassador for the game, for the sport. She is magnificent. She's trained magnificently. She is the Terminator. I mean, wow. You can't say that about too many fighters, and you don't think you're going to be saying it about too many female fighters, to be honest, because there's not as many of them. That's why, not because a woman couldn't have those attributes, but there's not as many. But she looks so good in every area. She wants to control the outside. Go ahead. Make the opponent walk through a bad neighborhood and mug them. She does that beautifully. But then she says, you know what? I want to go into her neighborhood. I want to go into her neighborhood and mug her in her neighborhood. I don't want her to come into my neighborhood to get mugged. I'll go into her neighborhood. And she goes in the right way. Yeah, she's terrific. And she's built like a puncher. You know, like a Tommy Hearns, like a Bob Foster, like an Alexis Oguayo, like a Carlos Zarate. Skinny, tall, wiry, like a brother. Tall, wiry, where they get leverage. They get leverage on those punches, torque on those punches. Anyway, terrific. She's great. Anytime she fights, I'll watch her. I just hope that she's so light. I don't know, like her frame, she could go up, but, you know, how far can she go up as far as, and put a little bulk, you know, where she's not going to get pushed around with the bigger women on the, you know, when she moves up. She won't get physically, you know, handled in a way where they would take advantage of that. That would be my only thought, my only concern. But and my other concern is, as much as I love her, is there enough fights out there that are worthy to see her in? You know, I don't want to see her in blowouts. I you know, even though she makes it a blowout, I give her credit for that. Don't knock her for that. I'm not taking away that she makes it a blowout. But I'm just saying, I want to see her. I don't know if there's enough good women fighters in those weight classes of hers to really bring the best out of her, to make me want to say, oh, I got to watch this fight again. I'll watch her anyway. The last thing I want to add is that you touched on Badillo. She tried her best. She was trying her best. At the end, she gave up. You know, she gave up. She told the ref she didn't want to go on. But her problem was she had half the right idea to move her head, but she didn't move her feet. She didn't move her feet to close the gap. She moved her head and avoided some shots early, but didn't close the gap with her feet. So she wasn't close enough to catch Fundora after moving her head.